Oh, greetings. Welcome to Sesame Street. Can you guess what I, the Count, am doing? Looking for something to count, yes, because I love to count things. Ha, ha.
We are still counting. Now this is a playoff of a deck that we made a couple weeks ago, which was an Abzan Counters Matter deck. Now we're going Selesnya this time, and there's a reason for that, because the Fertilid Felidar Retreat combo is absolutely insane. So we're pushing it up to 11, we're taking it to the max, and the games that we have later on are just nutty. You'll have to wait to see, but for now, let's get into the deck. Alright, so we're still counting. Alright, so the core of the deck revolves around the combo with Felidar Retreat and Fertilid. Now, this is absolutely nutty if you can get it off. Felidar Retreat makes it so that whenever you landfall, you can either make a 2/2 white cat beast creature, or you can put a +1/+1 counter on all of your creatures and give them vigilance until end of turn. Now, this gets insane because Fertilid allows you to pay 2 mana and remove a counter to put any basic land from your library directly into play. So you can take a counter off of Fertilid, put it into the field, trigger Felidar Retreat, put the counter back on Fertilid, as well as counters on all of your other creatures, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again, and just do it over and over, and your board gets huge, and it's kind of unstoppable. Now obviously you need both of those cards to stick on the battlefield in order to pull it off, but honestly, Fertilid flies under the radar. There are so many bigger threats in this deck, so a lot of times they won't waste their removal on it. And if they do, you're getting something even bigger and nastier to stick, so either way, it's kind of a win for you. And as far as Felidar Retreat, a 4-drop enchantment's kind of hard to get rid of. There is Elspeth Conquers Death. You have to look out for that, but other than that, it's kind of hard to deal with Felidar Retreat. Even if they wrath the board, like the retreat still stays, and you can build back your army through landfall triggers. So it gets pretty nutty. To back this up, we have a whole lot of counter shenanigans. So obviously we're running 3 copies of the Ozolith. This is going to make it so that when our creatures do die, all those counters go back onto the Ozolith, they come back onto our creatures, and you can just never get rid of the potential damage threat that we have on the board. It gets pretty crazy. The Ozolith is another card that's really hard to deal with. So if you get one to stick on the field, it's if you get it in under their counter spells, which is usually the way they can deal with it, they can't really get rid of it at that point. And as long as you can just have a creature, you can just keep bringing all those counters back to get really insane value. We've got 3 copies of Swarm Shambler and 3 copies of Basri's Lieutenant. This helps us kind of like stick our creatures and make them stick around, make it hard to get rid of. If we have Swarm Shambler on the field, they can't target it with removal spells or we get insects. If we have Basri's Lieutenant on the field, they can't kill it or we get a knight. And then all of those counters, if they're on the Ozolith, will come back onto the insects or the knights that we make. So we just keep creating value, and it gets really insane. We've got 4 copies of Stonecoil Serpent and 3 copies of Wildwood Scourge as our X-cost creatures. These are great because you can get a Scourge down early, and then everything's gaining so many counters that this thing's getting huge as well, just incidentally. And that's incredibly valuable in a deck like this. The Stonecoil Serpent is super valuable just because it has so many keywords, It comes into play with as many counters as mana you can pump into it, but it will continue to grow through cards in the rest of the deck, and all of those counters can go back on the Ozolith if they get rid of it. But having Reach, having Trample, having protection from multicolors, there's just so many ways to get around things that the opponent are doing. It's an amazing card. It's obviously belongs in this deck, for sure. We have, in the 2-drop slot, 2 Luminarch Aspirants, 3 Luminarch Aspirants, and 4 Conclave Mentors. Now, the Mentors become a huge target early on for the opponent because our stuff can get out of control, and that's really good for us. Like, if we eat a removal spell with a Conclave Mentor, we're gaining life, and they're not spending that removal spell on something that's far more important, like a Stonecoil Serpent or a Luminarch Aspirant. So this guy coming down early, it adds a ton of incidental value, and it makes them waste one of their removal spells on something we don't really mind losing most of the time. The 3 copies of Luminarch Aspirant, they kind of go without saying. They're going to add a counter to something every single turn, and once you have a Conclave Mentor in play, that counter's doubling, and it can get really wacky. It does a lot in the deck. It does a lot in any deck it's in, but particularly in this deck, it does so much. We also run 4 copies of Kabira Takedown in the mana base. Now, this is so that we do need a removal suite of some sort, so running the 4 copies here does give us some targeted removal. But if we're in the late game and we top deck this and we just need a landfall trigger, if we have like 2 Felidar Retreats down or something like that, and we just need a landfall trigger to get our army to where we want it to be, to get our board state to a position it needs to be to overrun our opponent, we have the option of playing it as that. So using the 4 Kabira Takedowns as our removal suite is really, really smart, I think, in a deck like this, and it goes a long way. We have 1 copy of Crystalline Giant, just because it can make a lot of keyword counters that then, if it gets removed, go onto the Ozolith, and that can be really good. I think, you know, having multiples is a little difficult finding room for in a deck like this, but having the 1 copy, because of the insane synergy with the Ozolith, I think is really worth it, and it goes a long way in a deck like this. We've also got 2 copies of Gemrazer, because putting this on anything with a bunch of counters instantly makes that way more threatening. If you have an 8/8 snake out and you put a Gemrazer on it, now it's a 12/12 snake. You know, if you have even a Fertilid with like a few counters on it and you put a Gemrazer on it, all of a sudden you have essentially a 6/6 or 7/7 haste trampler, which is insane. If you're also putting counters on it with Felidar Retreat and giving it vigilance, it can swing in for a bunch of trample damage and still hold back to block, and that's really crazy. That's kind of an overlooked part of Felidar Retreat too. The vigilance you get from putting +1/+1 counters on everything can get really insane. If you're going wide and you can hold back all of those creatures to block, but you can also swing in with them as well, there's just so much value there, and there's so much that the opponent can't deal with. It gets really out of hand. To cap it off, we've got 2 copies of the Great Henge at the top of the curve. Now, the Great Henge is probably one of the best cards in Standard right now, so it goes without saying. Especially after all the bannings, this thing is just a value engine. But in a deck like this, it takes on a completely new role where those counters are not incidental anymore. Those counters actually matter a whole lot. Every creature you're playing is getting an extra counter from the Great Henge, and you're drawing into more creatures. And even if you don't draw into a creature and you draw into a land, which is normally what you don't want to draw into with the Great Henge, you can drop it to trigger Landfall with Felidar Retreat, put more counters on everything, and there's never a bad draw with the Great Henge out, and it gets, man, it's just so good. It's just so good. So we run 4 copy of Fabled Passage. This helps with triggering Felidar Retreat, also with fixing our mana. And then we've got 2 copies of Crawling Barrens, because having a land that you can put the counters on, and then the land can't be destroyed with sorcery speed removal, it can't be destroyed with Shatter the Sky or any kind of board wipe effects, the value there is so good. For a land that can put counters on it, and then those counters, even if they do waste a removal spell killing the Barrens, will then go onto the Ozolith, absolutely great to include. We have to be careful with how many, because we need enough basics to search for with Fabled Passage and Fertilid, and we need enough green and white mana to get the plays out that we need to play. But having a couple of Crawling Barrens in a deck like this, I think, is just worth a lot. So this is the deck. Most games it'll go insanely wide, and it's not even a matter of having evasion normally. Like, we just go so wide that the opponent can't deal with everything, and being able to swing with vigilance and still hold back blockers is just huge when you have a battlefield full of giant guys. So here's the deck. I'm super proud of the direction it went. It's sort of a play off of a deck I did a few weeks ago called Keep Counting, which was Abzan and more focused on going wide with Bastion of Remembrance and using counters to get there. This version, I think, is more focused, and yeah, I'm really loving it. So let's check out the games. Polka Wrapper. Okay then. Not our best starting hand, but I think we can make it work. Lead with an Ozolith into a turn 2 Serpent, most likely. One more land and I feel pretty good about everything. There we go. Let's go, Cap. Let's do it. You can do it! Bone Crushes. I get the counters. So is fine. Big ol' snaky. Let's go. Come at me. Now what do we want to do? Do we save the Gemrazer? Probably. I think we just play Fertilid. Play out the passage. Pass turn. I have no problem trading. I have an Ozolith. We're gonna Gemrazer next turn and kill his Embercleave. And that's gonna be beautiful. Grab the plains. Goodbye, Embercleave. Doesn't have Vigilance though. Does it matter? I don't think it matters. Enter. I don't know what you can do against an 11/11 trample. But you can certainly try, Mr. Mono Red. Sure. Fetch another white. Actually, you know what? We'll get another green for Fertilid's ability. Scoop, skadoop, scoop, scoop, skadoop, scoop, skadoop, scoop, scoop, skadoop. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Next turn should be busted. Okay. You realize I have a 9-power trampler, right? know why he's attacking. This is what they do. They do these things, and it's awkward. Mono Red does not know how to not attack. They don't know how. They can't possibly think through their turn. They just have to turn things sideways. And that's it. Because of it, now we're in Diamond. Gotta have that Nectar of the Gods. Okay? It's important. It's very important. It's also important to have lands. And we don't. We do have some good early drops, though. Maybe we try it. Turn 1, Passage for a Forest. Turn 2, play Takedown tapped as a land, play a Swarm Shambler. Turn 3, play a Conclave Mentor, and hopefully draw into a third land to activate Swarm Shambler. Let's try it. Let's try it, boys. Pass turn. I don't want you to know what colors I'm playing yet. Not yet. Sure. Gets rid of the takedown so that I can't have a land. That's unfortunate. That's what happens sometimes, though. I'm actually going to play the Stonecoil Serpent here. We need to start gaining some tempo in order to deal with the fact that our white is on the back burner. This is fine. We make him spend his turn doing that. Play out the Scourge first, because then every time we drop the Swarm Shambler, the Scourge will get bigger. And that's not so bad. Or we make him waste his Blood Chief's Thirst, and that's also not so bad. Just need a Plains, and we will be very happy. What's he gonna get rid of? I guess that's smart. I think the Gemrazer was more worrisome, but given the current board state at least. We'll just race him for now. He's mostly out of gas on his side. Oh yeah. He had a 6th land drop. He is very out of gas. I'm pretty much okay with that. Alright. Play the Plains. Play this for 4. It is worth considering saving a mana for Swarm Shambler. But in this instance, I want to get Serpent as close to 5/5 as possible. As soon as possible. So if we top deck a land next turn, we play Felidar Retreat, we play the land, we get counters. Serpent's a 5/5 and can safely block the Giant. And that's kind of where my head's at. Got our Skull Smashing. We get another insect. I'm okay with taking the 4 here if he swings. I don't know if he will, though. Well, that's kind of unfortunate. Guess we'll just play the Swarm Shambler. No attacks. We're in a bit of a standstill. I need a land before it's worth it to play the Felidar Retreat. I can start putting counters on the Barrens every turn. Not so much, Waldo. I had to dig into the emergency stash for coffee. So I was gone a bit. He's still scared. So I could get a bunch of counters, or I could kill one of his things. I think it's actually better to do this. No attacks. Now all of our creatures can make insects if they get targeted. Playing a Shatter Skull. It's going to kill the Swarm Shambler and the other dude. We're going to get 2 more insects. It's honestly not that bad. We can make decent trades with the Bone Crusher Giant. Felidar Retreat's going to allow us to gain back the value. Nice. No attacks. We can afford to wait him out a bit. Those insects get exponentially better if we keep them on the field for another Felidar Retreat trigger.
You grow weak.
Oh my. Oh my. It's not even worth it to attack. We'll just play out the other Felidar Retreat. I was going to swing at Liliana with 2 1/1s and a 2/2. So we could make sure she died. But we lose half of our board. And Liliana can't really hurt us very much right now. She can do 3 damage to us, that's about it. I'm not really concerned about that. We just need a land and we're in a really strong position. We didn't quite get it. But we can play this for 4. That's not nothing. Maybe now we do need to kill her. We would lose 2 of our 2/2s. I think it's worth it though. It's alright. Just need a land. We're in a very strong position if we can get it. Ow. Well, now we're screwed. No blocks, we'll take the hit. Now we're real screwed. Proper screwed. It's got lifelink. No tax. Oh boy. Oh boy. We just hit a complete wall. 2 Felidar Retreats and then no land drops. Just stalled us for 3 turns. Couldn't do anything. Two lands. It's not so bad. Scry to the top. That's not good. It's probably removal. Jeez and crow. Come on, +1/+1 counter. Nope. Lifelink and first strike. That is not bad. No tax. We need to save it to defend against Mire Triton and Bone Crusher Giant. Come on, we just need a land. We just need a land. Painful. Oh hey, it got a counter. Lifelink and first strike. It's gonna replay Kroxa, hit us for 3. I think we need to swing now while we can. We've got first strike and lifelink, so makes blocks really bad for him. Makes us get back up to 10 no matter what. Nice. I wonder if he was trying to avoid the damage or if he just didn't realize we had first strike. Come on, land. Come on, land. We're gonna have such a strong turn if we can just drop a land. They'll all get huge and have vigilance. Come on. Come on. Just can't do it. We just can't do it. Lifelink, first strike, and death touch. Seems pretty good. At least be able to gain 4 life here. You can't kill it. I don't know what he's thinking. It's got first strike and death touch, man. Yeah, now you realize. Okay. We just need to make sure we gain that life. We can't take the chance that he doesn't swing. Because he could theoretically just get there off of bringing back Kroxa, or the trigger from swinging with Kroxa, or playing another Liliana. He doesn't have to kill us through combat. The Serpent helps us deal with Kroxa for sure. He's got a Rankle, but we do have a Reach Dude and a 7/7 to block Kroxa. But if we block Kroxa, he gets to replay Kroxa, right? I mean, he can replay Kroxa anyways. So I don't think there's any reason not to try to kill Kroxa here. Like, he can replay it anyway and keep whichever one he wants. Come on, land. Come on, land. Nope. But we do have a Great Henge. Don't think that's good enough. Don't think that's good enough. Lifelink, First Strike, Death Touch, and Trample. We want to gain the life, so we're swinging. We can kill 5 dudes. I'm gonna pass the turn. We tap Great Henge, gain 2 life. Use the other 2 mana, make the Barrens a creature. Put 2 counters on it. So if we're desperate, we have another blocker. We definitely have 2 more life. Giant's gonna be a real headache for him next turn. Like, the First Strike and Death Touch is insane. Let's see what he does. Block here. Is he trying to play 2 Kroxas in the same turn? Maybe. Certainly get us low. All we need now. There we go. There's a good boy. Oh my god. Are you ready for this? Holy shit. Let's find a forest. Can I do a thing in response? No. Make you a creature. Holy shnikes. Yeah. Yeah. Here. Next, to attack us. All attack. Next to blockers. I think that's about it. Yeah, I should have played the Barrens first as a creature. I did do it in response to cracking, but I only got half the counters that way. Just things you learn from, you know, your first time playing the deck. Or playing, you know, certain card interactions at least within the deck. I know, it's crazy. Hey, we got one! And a Felidar Retreat. Cool. We keep it. Because we need to hit our 4th land, we actually play this as a land. We're okay with that. Turn 2. Scourge. Maybe it'll eat some removal. We're going for it now, boys. Felidar Retreat and Fertilid. Come on. Don't be an asshole. Let's give him more things to remove that aren't Fertilid. Because honestly, we need to see the combo. We need to see it. I'm actually going to line it up so I play the retreat first. Normally I would play the Fertilid first. Maybe I should now that I have the Swarm Shambler. The idea before was play Fertilid this turn. Next turn I play, or play Felidar Retreat this turn. Next turn I play Fertilid. Then I drop the Passage. Then I crack the Passage. Then I have 2 mana left to use Fertilid's ability. All before he can use Sorcery Speed removal. But I think that the Fertilid is going to be the lowest priority on his radar for removal. So I'm actually okay with dropping it here because we have the Swarm Shambler that we drew that we can use the extra point of mana on. Oh yeah, it's happening. Okay, custom boost. No blocks. Just keeps getting better. Fetch a green. Everything's got vigilance. No attacks. Let him swing in with the Questing Beast. Because next turn is just going to get absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. It's fine. We're going to go over the head of all of it. All of it. Oh my god. Are you seeing this? Guys. Watch this. Just watch this. Just watch this. This is stupid. Just keep going. It's fine. And they all have vigilance. That's the key here. Felidar Retreat gives them vigilance. Which means they can still block. Which is fine. There's still 20 damage even though he blocked the 31-31. Absolute debauchery. There's an argument to be made we shouldn't have attacked with Fertilid. But, I mean, wiping his board and having things left feels beautiful. Like, he has to deal with an 8-8 in Gruul. He'll make a 2-2 here. And we'll swing. Oh, right. I can't block. I could have just won. I could have given it a counter to a 9-9, swung with Vigilance, and then after declaring blockers, tapped it to give itself another counter. Well, we'll win now anyway. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. No blocks. We'll go to 9. And that's the game. And we hit Diamond Tier 3. Feels pretty good. That was still counting. Felidar Retreat, Fertilid, the combo is just nuts. Give the video a like, maybe leave a comment because it really helps it out, and of course subscribe because that helps out the channel more than anything. And until next time, may you have 2 Felidar Retreats in play while you're ready to trigger your Fertilid 17.